So Bruce Weber won nearly 500 games over his 24-year career. He was the coach of the year in every conference he coached in. And yes, he went to the Final Four with Illinois. We chatted tonight, and right off the bat, after 42 years overall in coaching, does he miss it now?
Oh, yeah, there's no doubt, Frank. It's part of my life, a great part of my life. I love coaching. I love going to practice. I love doing practice plans. I love meeting with the coaches, being around the players. And I think more than anything, and I've said this to my wife many times, every morning as a coach, you get up and you have somebody to help. And, whether it's your players, the coaching staff, the community, the university, and, that's why I got into coaching, to help young men, help them grow, learn, get degrees, have a better life, and maybe become pretty good basketball players along the way. And then hopefully, leave some kind of legacy in the community at a university.
Well, speaking of helping, can you help Mizzou fans get off the ledge? Yesterday, Princeton ends their season. They make 12 three-pointers. Mizzou makes 6. What do you think?
Well, it's the craziness of March Madness. I mean, whether it's the Purdue game or, the Virginia game or Mizzou game, it's just, I think it goes along with all season, how inconsistent, the most consistent thing was the inconsistency of teams, and Purdue was consistent as anybody and they couldn't win. I thought Mizzou did a great job, and but a lot of times it comes down to the ball going in the hoop. It's a simple game, and it's, you can't, that's one thing you can't control. Now you give yourself a chance with defense and effort and playing together, but there's some days that ball just doesn't go in the hoop.
Arkansas beat your former team, Illinois, and then they followed up with a big victory against Kansas yesterday. They're loaded with draft choices, maybe 4 or 5. What about the Hogs? Can they win it all?
Oh, I think so. They got great athleticism. They can, they just beat the team that everyone predicted would win it. So, and they've been up and down, throughout the year. But, that's what happens in March. You have the athletes, you have the players, guys that can make plays at the end of games. And then you have to make sure, you get those guys playing together like that, and they can make a difference. There's no doubt.
What about Alabama? Their star player is Brandon Miller, who allegedly brought the gun to a place where a murder occurred. If you were the head coach there, what would you have done?
Well, I think, first of all, you got to go along with what the, your university, your administration, from your president to your athletic director, you have to, keep them involved, make sure they know what's going on. And that, to me, that's a bigger decision than the coach's decision. And then once it gets to that, it's a player decision, a team, is it a distraction? So, you got to go through the process, and it's not easy. It's tough making those decisions. One, you got to let the law, everything, the due process go through. It's hard until that does, but I would have, as a coach, I would have made sure my AD, my president knew what was going on, and then make sure they, along with our lawyers at the university, make sure they're making the right decisions.
We continue with Bruce Weber, tonight's Sunday Conversation. Coach, about the changes in college sports, the portal and NIL, the positives are teams can get fixed right away and players stay in college a little bit longer because they are being paid. But I imagine an old school coach like yourself doesn't like it. What do you think?
Well, I got into it because I loved what the college basketball experience brings. And I put college first, then basketball, and that experience. That's my one fear, Frank, with the portal and the NIL. We forget about a college degree and helping these young men be prepared for life and giving them a chance for a better life. It's fine to pay, but when they deserve it, I'm okay with that. I'm not against athletes getting paid. I will tell you, and I've told you this before, I don't think the national media did the NCAA, and the NCAA didn't help. They didn't do justice to what the kids were receiving. Players go on, the UConn player went on TV and said, I went to bed hungry. None of our players ever went to bed hungry. I promise you that. If anything, they gained weight. So, that part. So the other part is, and I've talked with, whether it's Matt Payne or Tom Izzo or all, my friends, we worry about the guys that go from one school to the next to the next, because we've been in it long enough, and our players that stick with us, who are loyal to us, are loyal to the university, they can always come back and they can ask for help, and you can be there for them. But if a young man goes from, or a young lady goes to 4 different schools, who's part of their family? Where do they go back? And that's what really worries me about that, getting that college degree, and then also, having a chance to always have family there to help you when you have needs.
You famously said you wouldn't get a haircut until the schools being investigated for the FBI scandal were hit with NCAA punishments. Do you regret that? And did you live up to that?
Oh, I did get a haircut. I finally just kind of gave up. But it started during COVID. Obviously, I wasn't getting haircuts because no one was, because there were no barbershops open. And we were sitting there with some friends, and I'm on the ethics committee. And, we were kind of joking. And I actually, on the NCAA ethics committee, they came to us. They said, hey, this is what's going to happen. We're going to get these guys. Well, obviously they didn't. But along the way, a friend of ours said, well, let's grow our hair until they get somebody. And, I just kind of let it grow. And I do not regret saying it. I do not regret growing my hair. And I cut it because, basically I'm out of the business and just kind of giving up on the whole thing. And now, in essence, cheating is legal. You can get, the NIL money is all legal, and you can pay the players. And so things are so different than they were 20 years ago, 40 years ago.
Got to ask you about, I think, your favorite game of all time, the regional final, 2005, down 14, 3:20 to go against Arizona and Chicago. That is your favorite moment, correct?
Oh, it's just unbelievable. And I got a lot of favorite moments along the way, but to go to the Final Four, to win in Chicago, to be down whatever, 11 points, 9 points under a minute, whatever it was, and to come back and win in overtime, and that moment for Illinois fans and for our players and staff, it was really, really special. And that season was, always, I always talk about it. Last time I talked to my mom, she said it was a fairy tale, and obviously she passed away that year at the Big Ten tournament in Chicago, and but it was a fairy tale, and to be part of that, it's always going to be special to me, and a special moment. That winning a gold with USA basketball was also pretty cool. I'd love to see Coach Katie get in the Naismith Hall of Fame, and he's a finalist again, and I truly deserve it. So, all these kind of, I've just been so fortunate, so blessed all the years to be part of that. And taking SIU to a Sweet 16, that was pretty cool too.